Righty-ho, let's do this. Evening, folks, 9 o'clock Sunday night UK time. It can mean only one thing. It's time for that rambling idiot again. It's time for the Sunday Nighter. How you doing, folks, schools? The chat is going, things are working. It seems that all the technology is playing well tonight, so we're looking good. We're looking good. I've got to open the question doc now. If you're new to the show, dead simple, this is a Q&A show, yeah, I'm here to help you. So, there's a question doc, it's a Google Doc, and I'm going to open it now. All you need to do is, the link is down below in the description, yeah, just wait till I say go, in case you're in a rush. There you are, all done. So, link is down below in the description. You can go jump on that now. There's only 3 questions. You don't need to be logged in. Just enter your screen name, what platform you're on, whether it's YouTube, Twitch or Facebook. And then just enter your question down below there. And we'll jump on those in about 10 minutes. Yeah, in the meantime, how are we all, folks? Are we good? I see plenty of people in. D&D, I see a few new people. Hello. Hey, I'm Kat, how you doing? Insane, Sander? Otis, Gary, Max, Tiny, I see. Puzzle bending, I like that. Hey, everyone's in. Now, it was the, this weekend has been the open day at Spode Studios, which is where I have my studio. Yeah, and we're open to the public. And went in on the Saturday, and I've got to say, utter shower of excrement. Rubbish. Yeah. I mean, we've got 43 studios. I think currently 36 of them are occupied. And I think there was only perhaps 6 or 7 studios open. Yeah, to the public out of those 35 that were occupied. Now understand, yeah, we're contractually obliged to open our studios. Because we get like discounted studio rent because we rent our studios off a charity, and the charity gets all its discounted rent and rates and electric and all that sort of stuff because it runs these open days, yeah, to the public. So basically it's about bringing art to the public. That's the charity's focus, and they do that through providing studio spaces, with the artists opening their studio spaces every so often to the public. Yeah, and that's why it's in our contract. You know, you get cheap studio space, we get you open to the public for that. Yeah, and I mean, it's 2 weekends a year. You know what I mean? It's not particularly excessive, and it's not like they're asking you to do work. All they want you to do is open your studio and be in your studio. You know, so you can tell people about what you do. And 7, I think, maybe more, but I think about 7. Out of 35, which it really, because I mean, first off, you know, the public are coming in and wondering where the hell the rest of the artists are. Oh. Right, everyone's talking about wedding dresses. Hey up, Jace, you alright, buddy? So anyway, yeah, absolutely dire turnout from the artists. Now, that wasn't too bad because no one marketed it. I mean, literally, I think through the entire day, I think I got about 14 visitors to my studio. I mean, when we did our first open day years ago, just let me switch this light on. When we did our first open day years ago, okay, that's better. That was quite bright over there, wasn't it? Look at the difference having that screen on makes. Gonna have to do something about that, I think. The problem is that's the question screen. I have to go on it. But no, I mean, the turnout. I mean, when we first had our first open day, yeah, because I've been there coming up to 3 years now, we had hundreds of people. I mean, I literally had a queue of people waiting to walk into my studio to chat and see it, yeah, waiting for people to walk out of it, and that was from start to finish of the day. Kat saying, contractually obliged, but didn't do it? Are you sure they even knew about it? Yeah, they knew about it. Some of them had even been to the meetings about it. It's plastered all over the place. They have notices. There's no hiding from it. I mean, there's a couple of people that I spoke to who just said, I'm doing other stuff. One of them was like, "Now I'm building a wall in the garden." Yeah. There were a couple of artists, that once the open day had finished, came in the evening, to work in their studios. Yeah. That was bizarre. I mean, what was nice is those that did turn up, and a few of their guests. We had sort of a private evening, in our sort of exhibition space. And to be truthful, it was just mates sitting down and having a bit of a natter for an hour or two after a long day. But that was nice because, there was a bit of free booze. Can't say, will they get fined? If so, next time they'll probably open. To be perfectly honest, I think the way that ACAVA, the charity that runs it, the Advancements of Culture, or Association for Cultural Advancement Through Visual Arts, ACAVA, the way I think they should do it is turn around and say, well, look, let's say you're obliged to open at least, unless something major's going on, you're obliged to open. Well, if you don't open and you don't meet that obligation, you shouldn't get discounted studio rent. You know what I mean? They should charge, you should charge commercial rates, which I'll tell you, we get a really good deal on our studios, a really good deal. If it was compared to, you'd be talking 2, 3, 4 times as much to set up independently, i.e. lease a space, get the utilities in and all that sort of stuff, with all the fixed costs. You see, we share the fixed costs of setting all those up between all the studios, and ACAVA deals with it. So I think they should be charged the full whack, But it's just, it's annoyed me. You know what I mean? Mel is annoyed about it. I just feel disappointed for the people who did turn up. They've made the effort to come see the studios, and all it is closed doors. JP saying, I wish I had a studio away from my tiny apartment. Need more space. Having a studio away from the home it's a double-edged sword. I like it as much as I dislike not having a studio at home. Okay? And what I mean by that is it's quite simple. Having a studio away from home, it's great because you don't have to get things out, put them away, you know what I mean? You've not got your distractions. You've got a dedicated space. You're not overrunning the house and that sort of stuff. The downside is if you want to do a little bit, you've either got to make sure you bring things back, and be transporting things backwards and forwards to the studio, or you've just got to accept that, I haven't got the bits I need. You know what I mean? And I often find myself juggling, that, especially because it's not far. It's only 15 minutes down the road. But that's a big difference to being able to walk into the kitchen and just grab something off the top shelf, one of the storage shelves, and just, I'll do a bit, I've got an hour. Also, when you have a studio at home, what you do when you have a studio away is you work, I do anyway. I go to work, I stay at work, I do a shift, I have some food there, depending on what time it is, and then I do another shift, and then, I come home. And then I relax, or more than likely normally work a bit more. But you go in these big sessions. When you have a studio at home, what you can do is, all I've got to do is I've just got to seal these. It's going to take 20 minutes, so I'm just going to nip in and just do that, and then I'm going to go back in the house. And then, I'll go pick up the kids. Having the studio at home is definitely more flexible around time and work-wise. Having a studio away is definitely better about dedicated space, about being organised, and about having long sessions. I think probably the best thing you could have is a studio at home that was slightly separate from the home. I think that's probably the best. Did someone donate and I missed it? Did I completely miss a donation? Because my Streamlabs is saying Zia Lash donated $25 through Super Chat. Thank you, buddy. 13 minutes ago, but I didn't hear oh yeah or nothing. I have to agree with Mel on this one. If you get a discounted space and it's community and charity funded or part funded, then you should be showing. Yeah, that's my standing. I mean, if it's an agreement with your landlord, yeah, and he's a commercial guy and you, right, I'm going to mess him about, well, that's between you and your landlord. But it's a charity, yeah. We represent that charity when the charity opens its doors to the studio doors. We represent that charity, And so, by not showing, we're letting that charity down. And we're letting the public down. And I think this year has been a culmination of this sort of growing attitude between the artists of, I'm not going to bother. Nah. I'm not going to bother push it. I'm not going to share it on my social media because I'm not in. Because the first year, when we were supposed to be in, and we better get in, we were all sharing it on Facebook. You know what I mean? And pushing it around. And as the artists have dropped off, so's the marketing push, and so the attendance, and I think it's become this decreasing circle. And I think that's what you call it. Jace is saying, I think that was the last show. I think he's done it twice, mate, because his name's there 7 days ago, and then right above it, 14 minutes above, it says it again. So I don't know if it's a glitch. Maybe he's only done it once, or maybe he did. In which case, thank you, Zeal. But no, I think there needs to be a right kick up the backside, you know what I mean? To get artists in, to get them showing in their studios. I mean, I'll be honest. I turned to the studio manager, the overall studio manager, at the end of Saturday, and I turned around and I said, look, I've got a lot of work to do, and Sundays are always traditionally a lot worse than Saturdays, now, the Saturday was worse than any Sunday I've ever done there, so I just turned around and said, look, quite simple, I'm not going to come in tomorrow. But what I'll say is, if you ring me up, I'm only 10 minutes up the road, if you ring me up, and say, Mel, we're busy, I'll be down in 10 minutes and I'll open my studio, I'll be there for the day. But based on how many people have come in today, I am not sitting on my studio on my own, because I can't work, because I've got to have the door open, so I can't work on the book or anything like that. I can't film or anything like that, because I don't know if I'm going to be disturbed or people noises in the corridor. So I'm literally just sitting there, pottering. So I just turned around to him and said, look, if you need me in and we're busy, I'll be in. No worries. But if there's no one coming through the door, Also, I'm quite in one way where my studio is, I'm quite lucky for producing videos, because I am really well out the way. And I'm in a part of the studio which is easily missed. And anyone, Jace will tell you, because he's been there, I don't know if there's anyone else in the group in the chat who's visited, but on open days, I actually get a lot less people than people on the main strip and in the main hall, because I'm in sort of like a little annex. But not only am I in an annex, but I'm in a top corridor that's up a set of stairs that's round a corner, and I'm right at the end of the corridor. And so what you get is, when you don't get people who are opening their studios in the annex and all the way along the top corridor, people come along, take a look, see no one's in like the rest of the main strip, and they don't even bother walking down to me. So I just turned around to him and I said, look, if you're busy, if there's people coming through the door, great. Because I actually enjoy it. I like people coming in and showing them what I do on YouTube and that sort of stuff. And, I just like it. But I just turned around and said, if you got people, I'll be in. If you ain't, nah, mate. Right. Jace, I find that getting creative folks to focus on admin details is a bit like herding cats. I found this as well. When I first moved into the studio, our city was bidding for City of Culture, which is like a countrywide competition. And essentially it's run by the government to pick a city to invest in culturally, and they give it a bucket load of cash over a few years. And it's about revamping and re-energising cities, cities that have been hit by, loss of industrial work and all that sort of stuff. And Stoke's rough. But we were part of the campaign. Because it was cultural, it was all cultural and creative types. And they were bloody useless. I mean, absolutely bloody useless. I mean, from my experience, I've been involved in teams in a number of ways in my life, I was involved in teams very early on with the army, as you can imagine. Coming out of the army, I worked as a physiotherapist. And as a physiotherapist, you work as part of a medical team, if you know what I mean, because your work influences what the surgeons have done, what the doctors have done. You need to be aware of what the nurses are doing. They need to be aware, and you need to be working with the occupational therapists. You know, so it's a team. Medicine is a teamwork approach. You may be the only one actually doing it at the time, but you're still working as a broader team, and you have to rely on those people to do what they're saying, what they're doing, and you know, and to follow your instructions as you follow theirs. Yeah, so I've worked with part teams in that situation. Yeah. Moving into, I've done a bit of teaching. You know, after I trained as a physiotherapist, which I did a couple of teaching, in a college for a couple of years. Yeah, so I've worked in educational teams. Yeah, and then I've been part of business. You know, I got into sales and medical sales, and then all sorts of sales, and I've been part of sales teams. So I've been in part of all different teams, and I've never seen such disorganization. Yeah, from teams in the creative worlds than any of the others. The creative world seems to be, it's more important about not so much who's in charge, although there's a bit of that pen hecking, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's almost like, what are they putting in? Yeah, now they seem to be really over the top in putting in and talking about stuff, but when it comes to drilling down what to actually do and who's going to take that responsibility on their shoulders, yeah, it just pitters out. I mean, for the City of Culture, yeah, our studios were given, we're given control of the City of Culture tweeting account for the city, yeah, for a week. And so we had a meeting about what we were going to plan for the content we were going to put on Twitter. We were there for 2 hours. We had a lunch meeting, as all creative meetings involve food and drink. Well, not too much alcohol, but, you know, lots of cheeses and grapes and all this sort of stuff. I'm sitting there with a pot noodle. Yeah, and and over this 2 hour meeting, on 3 separate occasions, I had to draw people out of like, look, at the end of this conversation, we need to have a list of what we're posting on Monday, Tuesday, when, you know what I mean? And by the end of it, nothing had been decided. They had no plan, and for the entire week, because no one took responsibility, no one had made any decisions, there was 20 of us in this meeting, yeah, for 2 hours, and no one took on any responsibility, yeah. It was like the City of Culture tweeting account almost went dead, other than the sort of general ones that the council was still putting out. But with regards to, we're passing it over to the Aqua Studios, beep, it was a flat line. You know what I mean? It's like, ka-dunk, it's gone, it ain't coming back, ka-dunk, Tuesday, nothing, ka-dunk, you know? I mean, God knows what the council thought, God knows what the City of Culture, but I mean, we're the professional artists in the city. Yeah, there's lots of, in the City of Culture team, there were lots of charitable groups, youth organisations, people doing workshops in deprived areas, you know, kids, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, lots of theatres, all this sort of stuff. Yeah, but we were, our studios is the only collection of professional working artists. And you've got to remember, there's 43 studios with the biggest collection of working artists for 100 miles in any direction. Yeah, so we were the professional artists part of the bid. And from the professional artists, oh, do you know what? I think I've needed this rant for a couple of years. I think I've needed to get this off. I think this open evening, yeah, has just got me in a position where I needed to get that off my chest. I remember sitting in the meeting, yeah, and people kept looking at me as if I was going to step forward and take responsibility for sorting it all out. Yeah, and I can remember after the 3rd time I'd sort of pointed out, after we were an hour in, I'd pointed out we haven't decided anything yet, or got anything on paper, or got any even semblance of a plan. That's when the people started looking at me, and I decided I've contributed enough to this creative discussion. I am not volunteering, I am not stepping forward, and I am not going to let you lot step back whilst I'm still standing forward. So instead, I quietly and verbally went, You know what I mean? Oh. Right. Everyone's talking about something else. Mel, sometimes a good rant is so very necessary. I know. I know it's not hobby. I know it's not terrain, but yeah, that was my weekend. Yeah. I hope Akava really sincerely just turn around, send out a load of letters and just say, look, yeah, you don't open on the next open date, it's a £500 fine or penalty. You know what I mean? Because they save us more than that easily. They save me more than that, I know for sure, because I've tried to find commercial space. Hey, look. Yeah, so they save me more than that money, so I know they're saving everyone else, because I've got one of the smallest studios in the building. Yeah, they're saving some people thousands of pounds. I mean, thousands of pounds. I mean, the studios there that are, say, £400-500 a month. Yeah, now I know that, you know, to get that sort of space, you're going to be paying £1,500 all in with all the utilities and your rates and all that sort of stuff. So they're saving thousands a month. You know what I mean? Yeah, so I hope Akava decides, no, you are opening. End of. Yeah? And from the artists I've learned, work with people, yeah, who are going in the same direction with the same sort of ethos as you. And I think, step back from the cultural crowd. Evening, Rawley. Oh, I needed that. I got a bit of a dry mouth. Oh, what's going on? Well, basically, Mel was just getting something off his chest. Yeah. And that, what's the reward for a job well done? Yep, another job. So true. This is why I end up too busy. I belong to 3 non-profits, and rather than get angry at how little they do, I just volunteer and get it done. I think people take advantage of people like that. You know what I mean? Because people see that you won't let it fail. So they're happy at stepping back and letting it fail. You know what I mean? And I think the easiest thing to do is just to step back. You know? And to point out that, no, you need to get that done. You know what I mean? And not take on more yourself. Because otherwise all you're doing is, you know what I mean? You're fueling them, you're reinforcing them, yeah, whilst they're getting praise for doing this stuff with like non-profits and charities, when they're not. Seeing Mel's stupid studio would be a super dream for me, which have been able to work aside him or show some terrain secrets. Hey, I'm a training project, would be awesome. Well, we have got the workshops plan. That is the plan. And actually, you know, with doing the workshops, there's also, you know, I am... Hello, darling. Really? Is that my... Oh, my God, you're putting that on. What's up? Oh, okay. Bellyache.
No, I've been having cramps. I just have to take myself.
Okay. Yeah. No, what do you call it? I'm really starting to think about Melcon or TerrainCon. I don't like the idea of Melcon. I like TerrainCon. Yeah, but I'm thinking of like a little intimate affair. Perhaps restrict the numbers to perhaps 100 visitors. You know, I don't know. You know, but I'm thinking, well, we can do something. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's rattling around my head. So maybe you can. Something on your chest. That would be Vicks Vapor Rub. Oh, that stuff's got. Hello, you. Hello.
I had my cramps, went over to get my top when I got out of the bath, and then I flopped over and couldn't get back up.
Oh, darling.
And then my friend tells me I have PE first period tomorrow.
Do you want a note?
I'm writing one.
Alright, no worries. Love you, darling.
Love you.
Oh. Quite frank, Willow is, yeah.
Have you got some white paper?
Yeah, there's some in there, look. When I was at uni, they had a guided tour of our studio. I got a minor telling off for hanging a sign saying, please feed the animals. Oh, I'm far worse than that. Oh, I'm awful. I am bad on. Yeah. First off, I mean, I have an interesting studio because of everything I do and that sort of stuff. Yeah. I have this huge big bag. Yeah. From when I was doing the Frostgrave board for foreground, you know, the big one with the big hill that comes up every so often. I did it a few years ago. I think before I had the studio. I think because I built it at home. No, it was actually done just after the D-Day board because I started building it literally straight after the D-Day board finished. I think, was it? Yeah. And then, but before I'd moved into my new studio because I was building it at home because I didn't have the studio space because I'd left the little place I was renting a room in a little arts organisation for the D-Day board. That was before I moved into the studio. But I have this big white bag of 1mm snow flock. Yeah, and it looks really dodgy, if you know what I mean. So what I do is I put it somewhere really obvious just out on the side. Yeah, and then when people come in, I look at who's like, who keeps having to look at it. I had a police officer come in once and he was like looking at it and I was like, it's nylon fibre. I use it for creating snow. And he was like, right. Yeah, was at home, Mel, after you were at B Arts. Was it, Jace? Yeah, I thought it was. Intimate affair? Well, Mel, appreciate the sentiment, but I'm not that kind of boy. You still need to do a vlog. You're with Jace, Mel. What? I agree with that 100%. Happens to me work all the time, and I'm just a mason operator. Have to make a serious point to let the boss know when he compliments the job what I actually did. Yeah. So he didn't do it. I did it. Yeah. I think what you call it. I think conscientiousness and that sort of stuff. You know, people who aren't conscientious, they will happily sit back. You know, they'll happily claim the credit of being great at the job and all that sort of stuff, but they'll let back and let others do it. You know what I mean? I worked in an IT department at a local bus company. We had a really silly signs everywhere. Sexual harassment will not be tolerated. However, it will be graded. Oh, there's a lawsuit in that nowadays. Null saying, I often think that about bags of green flock. The clump foliage, yeah. Yeah, there's that one as well. And the other bag is also spice mix for basing. But yeah, you know, I do little things like that. Oh, for those new to the chat, Mel should retell the flock drying in the garden and the armed police incident, mate. It wasn't flock, it was clump foliage. For those of you who don't really know me, you personally, that sort of thing, I live in quite a poor city, and I live slap bang in the middle of, you know, one of the largest social housing estates in the city. So I live in, you know, quite a rough area, you know, comparatively. I mean, people aren't dying on the streets outside, but you know what I mean. Yeah, I live slap bang in the middle of a council estate in Stoke. Yeah. Now I was making a load of clump foliage. It was the middle of summer. Yeah, I'd mixed it all up. I got a couple of different shades, and I was taking it outside on big sheets of of corrugated cardboard to dry in the sun. You know, because it sort of dries it quicker. Yeah. And one of my neighbours must have thought I was drying something out, because there I was. Yeah, outside, and appearing behind me, full squad of armed police here to arrest me. So yeah, I had to, you know, they all barreled into the garden, yeah, and there I was, you know, with my cannabis haul, yeah, of upholstery foam mixed with green acrylics and PVA thrown through a blender. Yeah, and very, very quickly, it was like, this is, it isn't what you think it is. And then, it only took just, I got a couple of pieces on the kitchen side. Yeah, and it only took a quick, look, this is what we use it for, this is what I do, this, you know what I mean, and it was all settled. But yeah, yeah, that was interesting. Never bring bags of green flocking material on a plane. Could you combine the next open day with a terrain tutor con? Get the numbers up and spread the artist's love? I don't know if I'd combine it with the terrain tutor con. The reason being is that our open days are already sort of combined with something called the BCB, which is the British Ceramics Bicentennial. Every 2 years it's a big show. It's also combined with other events on the site. Yeah, so logistics wise on the site can get a bit cramped with people doing things on the site, and so I might struggle with terrain con, whereas if we do terrain con on a weekend, any other weekend, the chances are there's no one on the site whatsoever. So unless there's a wedding on, which normally it's only occasional because it's an industrial site. Yeah, the hotel's free, all the event space is free. Not just that, there's a decent amount of free car parking on Spode. Yeah, but that fills up quickly when events go on. So, yeah, if I do it at a weekend, there's a good chance the majority of people will be able to park for free. Yeah, on the site. Do you know what I mean? So it just, and also it gets a lot easier to do things on the site if the council aren't trying to organise with a lot of other stuff. What? Oh, do you know what I mean? So because it's a council-run site, so when you've got things like different exhibitions, the BCB going on, there's a pottery guy that was on the Great Pottery Throwdown called Keith Brymer Jones. He's got an exhibition going on in one of the buildings. Yeah, and so when you've got all those big organisations, who the council don't really know, trying to set up terrain con on the same weekend, I wouldn't get the help I'd get if there's nothing going on the site, because the council wants the site as busy as possible through the entire year. So, yeah, I see where you're coming from, the idea of running my event at the same time as our open day. But I think, to be perfectly honest, yeah, my event will happen a lot better, and it'll be a lot better event if it doesn't. You know what I mean? I mean, if it grows, you know what I mean, it's pulling decent numbers, then the council will go, well, look, Mel, do you want to coordinate with this? And, we'll make sure you've got the space, and we'll we'll open the large car park. We've got a large car park at Spode, or wasteland that can be used as car parking, and it's 2 acres, you know what I mean? So they can put easily 500 cars on there. So what we could do is, if terrain con grows enough that it becomes viable, yeah, or it becomes, oh bloody hell, look at the numbers Mel's bringing in, yeah, then they go, well, Mel, would you like to combine? And the council would be more willing to yeah, we'll make sure you've got car parking space, we'll make sure you've got space, we'll make sure we include the signage, and make sure, you know what I mean? And so there's that consideration. I'd rather grow it ourselves and be something, because the other side is, if we set up terrain con, yeah, the other side is, if there's loads of members of the public who know nothing about wargaming coming on when we're just starting off, yeah, it could get awkward in a little way. What I actually want is to get gamers in and to keep it focused while it grows a bit. I mean, once we've got loads of gamers coming in, members of the public just wandering in and joining them isn't an issue. But can you imagine if the traders found out, if I invite traders down, can you imagine if they found out that, half the people who came to it weren't even wargamers, they were just members of the public having a nose? So, while it's growing, we need to keep it focused. Oh, there's a what you call it. Right, I'm just going to check how many questions we've got, because we've been rabbiting. I've got 8, so I'll jump in those in a minute. Let's just do the what you call it comments, and then we'll have a what you call it. I'll have a quick drink and dry my mouthful. Physical abuse in the workplace will continue until morale improves. I need that in my studio. Mel, stop being... No, I'm not going to say that. Oh, Max is saying, yeah, question time, Mel. Yeah, I think you're right, question time. Not with the kids around, certainly. Our sympathies with the flock. Walked through Nottingham with a kilo of snow flocks wrapped in plastic and brown paper and club terrain tools, knives. Was halfway to the clubhouse before brain registered. It happens. A terrain con would be a great concept. Surprising it has not been done before. I think cons are hard enough to set up as they are, which is why if I do a terrain con, I want it to be intimate. I don't want it set it up, you know. I think I've got enough, sort of pull with the traders as personally as me, Mel, yeah, to say, come on, send someone along and just support it. To be honest with you, I'll go like, look, you're not going to make a profit, but you know I'm going to do videos on it, and you know you're going to do you're going to get a bit of marketing from it. So treat it as a marketing exercise and come along, bring a funky table and, you know, bring a demo team so people can learn bolt action on that table, and let's see if we can get my D-Day table down and my Frostgrave table up from Firestorm, and we'll get people taught, and then we'll reach out to a few terrain makers, you know, TM Terrain, Luke APS, ask those guys to come along, happily sell their wares and bring a table and demo a different game. So you get this collection of really awesome gaming tables, not your normal con stuff. Yeah, I know Salute can have some nice posh ones, but you know, terrain makers bringing their table, you know what I mean? Not just mine. Yeah, we reach out and you know, all the commissioned terrain makers, yeah, come on, we'll get you a table, you can advertise your services, we'll push out the videos for you, get you some marketing, but bring a nice table, decide what game's going to be played on it, let's get a demo team so people can just walk in, pick up and play awesome games on all sorts of awesome tables. Have a load of trader support, you know, keep it towards terrain, but a little bit of gamey as well. Starter sets, that sort of stuff for the games being played. You know, have the traders there on the basis that they know that, okay, they're not going to make bank, yeah, but this is a good event to sort of really get behind. Plus, yeah, it's Mel. Yeah, one, I've helped them enough across the years, you know, helping them, and I've helped the hobby enough, and them selling their games by making tutorials that people can use to make terrain for their games. And they're quite open about this. This is why they like me, you know. What I do with terrain tutorials helps to sell their games because it helps people make terrain which they need to play these games. So, you know, leverage a bit of that, get a few, you know, discreet affair, a couple of 100 people. Can you imagine? It'd be great. And don't forget, group growth for dancing, everyone. Most cons lose money. Yeah, this is why I want to keep it intimate and that sort of stuff. A terrain con might be too niche to get numbers through the door. Perhaps start off by having a presence at a local gaming convention, build up from there. No, I don't think. I think what we should do is sell tickets. Yeah? I mean, with no offence, you can turn around and say, a terrain con, there's going to be no interest in that. I didn't think my book was going to fund, and that was just the basic campaign. Never mind all the stretch goals. Yeah, there's a lot of interest in terrain. You know what I mean? And I think there's a lot of interest in really nice tables. Now, also, Stoke geographically, yeah, is slap bang in the middle of the Midlands. Yeah, with easy motorway access. Yeah, from everywhere. Yeah, it's why it's Stoke, business-wise, after the pottery industry collapsed, became mainly a distribution hub. Yeah, for all sorts of the big businesses. They've all got distribution warehouses around Stoke. Because land's dirt cheap here. The business rates are cheaper than Birmingham and Manchester. And we have the M6. We've got routes into Chester, North Wales. We've got routes over to Derby, Nottingham. Yeah, so it's great to ship to all the... So geographically, we're in a good position. The venue, free parking, fingers crossed, you know. It's easy to get to. Yeah, what I mean is, it literally is off the motorway, onto the bypass, and the actual venue, because the bypass literally runs 50 yards away from where the venue is. It takes 2 minutes off the bypass to get. And not just that, it's signposted by the council. So, I think, yeah, it is a niche thing, but I think there's an interest in it. Yeah, and if we do pre-tickets first, I think it's fair to say, what you could do is say, all right, pay for your tickets, and a bit like a Kickstarter. Yeah, if we don't get the numbers we're expecting, yeah, then we'll call it early. Everyone will get their ticket money back, okay? And what you call it, we'll just let the traders and everyone know, look, don't do it. You know, we're not going to get the numbers. But if we get the numbers, let's do it. Open the TerrainCon to other modelers as well as the railway community. Yeah, it's certainly an option. How about terrain workshop or demos at Sloop? It's certainly doable. Right, okay, questions. We will talk about TerrainCon. I might do a video. Yeah, because it is something that's going through my mind, and it is something I'd really like to grow. Yeah, and I think if the book has taught me one thing, it's, right, let's do this. You know what I mean? Let's crack on and not just get the videos. I've got to grow the channel back. I know that. I've got to put a lot of work in the channel while I've been doing this book. I know that. I've known that all along, and I am well up for that. Yeah? But there's other avenues and other things we can do. So, come on. Let's do this. Let's really rock the terrain world. Do you know what I mean? Do a £2 entry, donate to charity. We can do, but we've got to look at the actual costs and how things work. Yeah, so the finances, and I will be honest about TerrainCon. Yeah, I'll keep the I don't know if to declare to just keep the finances public, but I'm not looking to make a profit from it. You know, I know the idea of, right, we're going to be completely honest, but I might find out that the traders don't like, people knowing how much they're paying for tables. Yeah, I don't know how cons work. So let's get used to cons and let me look into cons before I make any great declarations. But I'm not looking to make a profit from it. Yeah? As long as we break even, great. Have you a large wargame society in Stoke? Did one for my club in York, which was going to be... We've got 3 or 4 in Stoke. There's a few wargaming groups in Stoke, to be truthful. Right, questions. Okay, right, let's get stuck into these. Because we are like halfway through the show. Okay, Sander van Dyke. Hey, maybe not a question for you, but maybe for the rest. Ooh. Yeah. My airbrush is clogging up very badly using Vallejo airbrush paint. Maybe some tips. Yeah, would be awesome. Clogging up. Have you got dry tip? Do you need to lube your needle, mate? That's normally with model paints. Yeah, that's normally the issue. Yeah, you're getting dry tip, which is where as the airbrush is spraying, tiny amounts of paint are getting what's got stuck on the end of the needle. Okay, and in the end, this sort of clogs it. Yeah, and you get what's called dry tip. Now, there's 2 ways of dealing with this. You can get needle lube. Yeah, it's generally called needle lube. Yeah, and basically you just dip your needle and you wipe it over your needle. Yeah, before you put it, and it's basically like an oil. Yeah, that stops the paint sticking to it so it keeps flowing. So that's one way. The other way I've seen for dealing with dry tip is a sponge. Yeah, cloths and that sort of stuff with your needle can be a bit iffy, if you know what I mean, because fine precision. But you can have a damp sponge, and all you do is you just dab your needle into it, and it just takes that little dry tip off it. Yeah, and you're flying again. I would give that a go and make sure it isn't that, because that's normally the most common reason for airbrush blockages. Yeah, I was a total noob at one point. People are still talking TerrainCon. Right. But yeah, I reckon that. Keep an eye in the comments. There might be something else. If there is, we'll shout it out. Okay, onwards and upwards. Question 2 of 10 from Max. Can you use Spanish moss as lichen? Right, first off, Spanish moss is a type of lichen. Yeah, it is lichen. Yeah. It's called moss because the people who discovered it thought it looked like moss. After it was discovered and science had a proper look at it in later years, they discovered it wasn't a moss, it's a lichen. A lichen is a symbiotic, like a symbiotic relationship between a fungus and a bacteria. I've forgotten this. This is in the book. Yeah, and I'm so tempted just to open words and just go, like, yeah, let's odd it. Let's go. Right, come on. Let me nail this. Right, what would it be under? It'd be Spanish moss would be covered in the materials section. I shouldn't really give you bits of the book. You're supposed to pay for it, you gits. Or those of you who are backed it, you're supposed to watch and wait until you get it. Right, let's do a Control F. Yeah, and it'll be Spanish, won't it? Poof. What do you mean? I know I covered it. What did I call it then? Okay, natural. Natural stuff, section 9 of the what you call it, of the materials. Natural. Dry stuff. Right, okay, so bare essentials, tools of the trade, wet stuff, colour juice, sticky stuff, pastels, putties, dry stuff, basic build materials, foamy stuff, scratch building, bits and kits, natural, dry stuff, green stuff, earth stuff, green stuff, nature, sea foam, Kurokai, no, not sea foam. Okay, certain mosses and lichens can also be collected and used in modelling. Lichens are often confused with mosses, as the terms are often mixed, often used as interchangeable, but in biological terms, mosses are plants, whereas lichens are a mix of fungi and algae that work together symbiotically. Shrubbery lichen, scaly, yeah, Spanish moss. Right, double check. Spanish moss. It is a lichen in it. Okay. Oh no, Spanish moss is a flower. It is a moss. My apologies, Max. I didn't cover this one. Spanish moss is the hanging drapey stuff. Right, you cannot... Right, let's get back to this. Sorry, guys. Better update the book. Right, let me get my screens back up and get unwhited out. Right, okay, Spanish moss is a plant and it isn't a lichen. But, yeah, what we use lichens and Spanish moss for is often substructures. In that case, it can be used, but it will need to be preserved. It will still need, because it is a plant, it will need to be preserved with glycerin. Okay? Or it can, you can give it a soak in a PVA and set it. If you want it to have a little bit of, flexibility, it needs to be glycerin. But yes, you can use it, mate. My apologies for getting it mixed up. The Spanish moss is found in swamps. Yeah, the drapey sort of greeny, get you. I prefer my lichen my lichen to have the London look, so I use Cape moss. Jimmy's in with a good one. Spanish moss seems a bit too coarse. I prefer reindeer moss. Reindeer moss is a lichen. And I'm going to check that now. Yeah, just to make bloody sure. But I'm damn sure reindeer moss is a lichen. Because that's how I've got confused with Spanish moss. It's a fungus. Yeah, it's actually called reindeer lichen. It's actually the reindeer lichen is the one that we use in modelling. There's tubular lichen, there's flaky lichen, and then there's what they call, what was it called? I'm not going. All right, let me go back to the book. What's it called? Whatchamacallit? Lichens, with fructose, they are known as shrubbery lichen. That's it. That's the one we want. Yeah, and the reindeer moss is a shrubbery lichen, which is why we use it for shrubbery. Go on. Commence the jokes. Come on. Just get it over with. Get over it. Yeah, I shared a shrubbery. So yeah, I think we've nailed the lichen one. Right, let's crack on. Okay, 3 of 12. Gulty, I've made some homemade terrain washes using your videos and others online. It's a bit bubbly and foamy when I paint it on with a big brush. Have I added too much flow aid? Yes. Or is it something else? No. Using Liquitex flow aid? Yes. Yeah, mate, you've added way too much flow aid. I've used Liquitex, not Liquitex, but you can dilute flow aid. The dilution instructions on flow aid are for diluting paint. Yeah, for just using it as a flow aid for our water. Yeah, for when we're doing washes, it needs so much less. Yeah, because water is already pretty flowy. Yeah, compared to painty, which is kind of thicky. Yeah, throwing a flow aid, it takes very little less flow aid to get that watery flowing even better than it takes to get in more the more thicker painty, yeah, flowing better. Yeah, so you have got an excess in. Don't follow the instructions, dilute it down, yeah, and you'll be absolutely fine, mate. Absolutely fine. That was an easy one. Mel the summary. Dan Random, Jace, I've locked myself in the hobby room as Aunt Irma is currently visiting with 2 others in the house. Awooga! Awooga! I have a studio for that. Right, okay, next question from Grey Main, watching on YouTube. Hello, buddy. Yeah, when painting black, what is a good colour to highlight the black with? Ooh. I've literally just been writing about this. I mean, literally just before the show, I was talking about black and working with black. Right, highlighting black. Obviously, that black's a weird one because the paint we use for black is too black for black in the real world. Yeah, because there's always some light that's bounced back. Yeah, off things that are material and black, because whenever you get a black in the real world that is actually truly black, a bit like our paints, it's one of those weird ones where it looks like a hole into hell on a piece of paper, you know. Have you seen the Ultimus Blackest Black paints? Yeah, so the black in the real world that we're trying to model often isn't actually black as in the model paint. It's actually either got reds or greens or blues or browns or some other colour in that enables us to see it. Yeah, which is why black looks so weird on terrain. The best way of handling black to start off with, yeah, and I've talked about this before, so I'm not giving away book secrets, it's just in the book. Yeah, is to add a touch of brown to it. That's called breaking the colour, which is ironic because black isn't a colour or a hue. Yeah, it's actually a shade, technically. Yeah. But, so you're breaking the black with brown, and that will make it a lot more realistic. With regards to lightening it up, it's a simple matter of adding a little bit of white to it and lighten it up. But the thing with black is, it doesn't take much lightening to lighten up, if you know what I mean. And go very, very, very gentle on your highlights. Okay, because by its very nature, black absorbs most of the coloured light that hits it and reflects black very little. I'm giving away secrets here, guys. Do you know what I mean? They are cats coming in with working with witch stuff and haunted houses stuff. I tend to use a very, very dark purple or a super midnight blue to highlight lightly. Purple's a nice warm colour, blue's a nice cold colour. Both of them, yeah, if you remember, sit in the sort of dark range. Yeah, so yeah, I can certainly see those. Odin's given us one. This is an important one. With reindeer moss and lichen, don't buy it from the cheap stuff on eBay, etc. It's often area stripped from the Arctic, Siberia, which is very harmful to the ecosystems there since it takes decades to grow back. The mildly more expensive stuff from more reputable companies usually comes from the subarctic or other places where it replenishes much faster. Guys, yeah, I highly recommend Jarvis, yeah, for your lichen. Yeah. Also, I like their colours and their mixes. Their mixed bag is the best in my opinion. Yeah, it's a little bit more desaturated. You can tell. Can you tell I've been writing and working on the colour theory section this weekend? James is saying I painted the Spectrum in its Baba Yaga miniature in black. Even the highlights on his suit, he still looks bloody black. True. Jason's saying I prefer blue or red when I highlight black armour, depending on if it's a good guy or a bad guy, so to speak. That's interesting. Depends on the rest of the terrain, so something like blue, brown, red, purple, whenever the colour, wherever else the colour is on terrain. I'm not going to give you my answer. Yeah? What time of day is it? What time of day is it on this terrain piece? That'll tell you what colour black it is. We're going deep here, guys. We are going deep. So clump foliage is more eco-friendly than lichen. I don't know, yeah, because I don't know how the manufacturing process of making upholstery foam is ecologically, yeah. But buying stuff from reputable companies rather than buying it from cheap traders on eBay, yeah, obviously is, more ecological. Grawley's saying he wants a look like obsidian. Blue with a touch of purple, mate. Go and have a look at my lava video. It's I think it's not last week, the week before. I did a lava video and I explained obsidian and why the colours were how it was. Also, Google green obsidian. Yeah, for no other reason that it's beautiful. If you've never seen green obsidian or green volcanic glass, yeah, just Google it to go and have a look at it because it's beautiful. Mel, that sounds like a Fredism. What's a Fredism? Oh, what time of day is it? Fred is... I'll tell you, the past couple of years of spending time with Fred, because whilst I can describe modelling techniques and we talk about all sorts of things, yeah, Fred really does talk about in depth about colours to me, because Fred's still learning about colours. Now, not in a way that... Fred's learning about colours in a way that... Remember, Fred used to teach art at university, so Fred already really knows colours. But Fred likes to know everything about colour. So he teaches himself the science and all, you know, with the history and all this sort of stuff, and even the interesting stories. And he you know, you pick a colour and he will tell you where it came from, how it developed, who made it, you know, the tales, how it was used in art, how the chemical composition. He'll tell you, you know, where in Afghanistan the blue came from, and where the mine was for a different shade of blue, you know, right? That's Fred. And spending time with him has been wonderful, to be perfectly honest. Yeah. And it's one of the reasons why I included in the book a colour theory section. Because it was only when Fred really introduced me to colour, okay, that I realised just even the basic principles that I've laid down in the book, and there's just a few, yeah, but just with those, the things you can do with them. And all of a sudden, why so many of my builds didn't look right, yeah, suddenly became clear. So, yeah, the past 3 years have really rubbed off on me, to be truthful, with Fred. It's been wonderful. I've learnt so much. Yeah, I tend to I listened to the history, and I listened to his stories about the artists, and Van Dyke, what you call it, he made his paint. Van Dyke, yeah, people loved Van Dyke watercolors, yeah, because his colors were so real on the earth, on the embankments and that sort of stuff. And that's because he mixed bloody what you let Van Dyke used to do water pieces, yeah, and the earth banks of the rivers and that sort of stuff. His colours were perfect, yeah. The reason why his colours were perfect is because he used to make his paints out of the mud from the bank of a river. He wasn't even painting. He was just getting a bit of the terrain piece on the real land, yeah, that he wanted on his watchlet, digging it up with a shovel, mixing it with some acrylic binder or some binder of some sort, and spreading it across. And they were like, "Look at his browns. Oh, his browns, beautiful." They're not browns. It's mud from a riverbank. That's why it looks like a riverbank. You get all this sort of stuff off Fred. Now, what I tend to do is I remember the really funny ones and the interesting ones, but Fred knows so many, yeah, that aren't even funny or interesting. He just knows them because he learns about them, yeah. So I sort of like forget quite a lot of that. But what I do is I listen to Fred. Yeah, and at the back of my brain, it's always going, that's interesting, oh, that's interesting, until somebody says something that has a practical application in the hobby, yeah? And then something in the back of my head goes, drill him, yeah? And I think he's getting to notice when I suddenly turn, yeah, and all of a sudden my focus is a lot more on what he's saying, and I start making sure I exactly understand what he's trying to say. Because he said something that I was like, I could use that. What? Yeah, colour warmth, all sorts of things. So yeah, Fred has really rubbed off. That was another little ramble there. It's going to be a good good section. I think the colour in the book, just out of curiosity, colour is currently running at 2,000 words. I've still got to finish intensity, colour warmth, and then I've got to do working in colours in the outro. As in working the different tints for the different sort of places of nature and what you should tint certain colours with to make them look more natural and things like that. Yeah, so I reckon easily another 1,000 words by the time we've nailed that. So 3,000 words. I reckon probably 2,800 possibly. Yeah, and then 2,800 spread over 4 pages. That should be a nice subsection. But it's all good stuff. And the theory, so you understand it. Right. Impressionists are good for understanding tone or colour in nature? Most definitely. Did you know the human eye can observe over, 10 million hues of colour? 10 million. Although technically there's almost an infinite hues of colour. You know what I mean? Because you talk about mixing. Crawley, yeah, I'm a rich bugger. Oh, Dan. I know, red cochineal. Tom did well with his high school results. Great to hear, Jace. Absolutely brilliant to hear, mate. Mel's the closet wear artist. Oh, wear artist? Right. Otis from West Virginia. Mel, I watched your video on making water scenes. Question, would Scenics Water Effects app like to know what kind of base that I can use so I can remove it for my train layout when I... Dude, that sentence is a bit too much broken for me. Can you resubmit it? Yeah, I'll pick it up at the end. Yeah, I'm struggling to actually understand. I watched your video on making water scenes. Question, would, Scenics Water Effects. Okay. App like to know what kind of base that I can use so I can remove it all for my train layout when I change scenery. To be truthful, yeah, if you're on about pulling the water effects out to change it when you want to change scenery, because you two, actually, Otis, you're always talking about changing scenery from summer to fall and that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think that's what you're getting at. Okay, I would go with an acrylic, but what I would is after you've laid your acrylic base colour down, wherever blue or green or brown you want your water, yeah, go over it with a nice thick gloss varnish. Yeah, and then use water effects and not resin. If you go over it with a varnish, yeah, a smoother gloss varnish, you'll be able to peel the peel the acrylic off without affecting the base. So you can tint the Scenic's watercolours, yeah, and lay a different one down without upsetting your paintwork or having to, upsetting your paintwork too much. You might have to gloss round your edge as well. You know what I mean? Yeah. I love how you got this idea that you got this physical train layout. You are literally swapping things on it to change the seasons, and you're literally I would never dream of swapping a pond out, yeah, to change the season on it. I'd just build another pond. You know what I mean? I love that. Right, moving on. That's what it is. Yeah, he's changing from a Christmas light, running a Polar Express on it. I love that, mate. I think that's brilliant. Line it with cling film. You could, but you get some weird wrinkles with cling film. I think gloss varnish, so it just peels off. And, you know, the gloss, if it's a good gloss, and you perhaps put two layers on, you know, the water effects will peel off that quite easy. I mean, I can peel water effects off non-varnished pieces without pulling too much of the paint off. Yeah, so I reckon you can get away with you know what I mean? Reckon with a gloss varnish you should be fine. Right, Bill. Hello, Bill. Just used some matte medium and it's way more glossy than I thought it would be. It's about 5 years old. But would that make a difference? Depends, okay? It's going to be an acrylic sort of binder, that sort of stuff, or a plastic poly binder. If at any point that's become frozen, it's going to get knackered. Secondly, the matte element in matte medium is actually from like a crystal particle that they put into it to sort of diffract the light, yeah, and break up the surface, okay? And that's why you don't get a gloss, okay? It's quite possible that because that's slightly denser... Hey, boy! Yeah... Superman just walked through. Wonder Woman will be down in a minute.
No, she's asleep.
Will's asleep, is she? Yeah, I think she's feeling rough, mate. Yeah. What do you call it? Sorry, I got off track there. He's thrown me. No, the matte medium, because the crystals are slightly denser, they do tend to sink to the bottom. Yeah, so it could be that your matte medium, when you're using it, Bill, it hasn't got any of the matting element in that because it's at the bottom, and you don't often see that. You don't often notice this on matte medium because it doesn't split like paint. So I'd throw an agitator in there and give it a good shake round to get those particles broken up and remixed through the mix as well. I thinned it by 25%. Is that what made it glossy? No, thinning it shouldn't make it glossy. It might knock the matting effect down a bit, but matte medium is designed to be used as part of something. You know, like part of making up washes or making up your own paints out of pigments, along with a binder and suspended in a medium. Yeah? Yeah, so it's used to being diluted down, and it's still matte stuff. So that shouldn't be, but I think if you're... Really?
What? Go on.
Really?
What?
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 Okay, first off,
yeah.
What do you think YouTube thinks of me as a dad when my son drinks out of a jug?
Thirsty?
Thirsty? You thirsty? I'll just have a jug because, you know, a pint glass isn't big enough.
Yeah.
Yeah? So, no, wait. Wait.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now... Boy.
Yeah.
Explain to me the reasoning of bringing your jug in and strategically placing it by my head on the YouTube stream, which wasn't subconscious on the basis you weren't hanging out with me when you walked past. I barely got an arm rise. So you've decided to come to the screen to show YouTube you can drink a jug of orange.
No, I was going to go upstairs, but then saw you talking about something and just got really distracted.
What was I talking about?
I'm not fully sure it was
And there, folks, there it is. There is the look. That's guilt. That is guilt. Bugger off. I love you, lad. Good night. See, this is what he wanted to show.
That's not meant to be normal. You're not meant to be able to spin around and make a sound with your stomach.
I tell you what.
You're weird, you are, dog.
I'm weird?
Yeah.
Says the girl. You just had a pint and a half of juice out of a jug.
Yeah, it was more than pounds and a half.
More than pint and a half.
Two. It was near the top of the jug. It was quite a large jug, so.
Jimmy has just come back with the perfect reply. Proof that NCOs have big gobs.
Yeah.
Oh, the burn!
Actually, no, I got done.
He got done for shouting too much. A bit of an unruly cadet pushed your buttons, didn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you went full bore like RSM without the RSM's actual authority. Yeah, so you got pulled in, didn't you? It's ironic, isn't it? Because a couple of weeks ago, weren't they telling you off that you weren't shouting enough?
Yeah.
So what, you've gone like full bore one way and we need to fine tune it?
Yeah, basically I wasn't shouting enough, so then I figured I might as well, actually first time teaching drill, actually shout for once. And then I shouted a bit too much, so now it's time to stop shouting as much. Yeah.
Chase, don't. Right, you. Love you, lad.
Quite thirsty.
Go on.
I'm annoying my hair. It does annoy me, honestly. Ask Mum, I do it every time, no matter what.
Your hair?
Yeah.
I suppose you've got to look good for your date.
What date's my girlfriend left me? Actually, no, sorry, I'll have to. What?
Nothing? What are you thinking? Right, come on, I've got a show to do,
sorry,
dude.
I'm trying to get the hair look alright.
It's Sunday night, folks. Nothing changes. Oh, bugger off! My YouTube show is not for you to check it.
Checking my hair.
There's a mirror there you combed in front of.
Well, how about that? That'll look better. Don't question why, you just will.
Bye, William. Okay. So yeah, okay. Right, Bill's final bit about the matte medium was, is there a fix without having to use a matte crealer from a spray can? You can use a matte varnish and brush it on, mate. That'll work. Alright then. Right, I've got 15 minutes and 6 questions left, so I'm going to switch off the question form now. We've got enough questions in. Yeah. The tabletop blaster. Yeah, Peter Libitra. I butchered that one. I know, Dickie, I know. Yeah. We see you have 127 subscribers. These Sunday evening shows, we have like 70 or 80 views. Oh, is that too few? Is it okay? What do you think about the lesser amount? Right, okay, yeah, no, I have 127,000 subscribers. That doesn't mean I have 120,000 active subscribers. Okay, what you've got to remember is I built the Terrain Tutor to be a reference library. So a lot of those subscribers are people who don't follow the show. They're not terrainiacs as such. Yeah, they're wargamers, they're model makers who, when they've seen a good resource, yeah, have made sure that they've subscribed to it and they've got it. And when they're doing something, you know, like, all right, I'm playing this game, I need to make some terrain, I'll go to Mel's channel and they'll hit the channel. And this is nothing new. this has been the same all the way along. I mean, the live shows are a little bit quieter lately, mainly because, you know, the channel is a little bit quieter because I'm focusing on the book. Yeah, but the numbers we're getting right now fit with the numbers that I'm getting on my videos right now. Do you know what I mean? Fit with my subscriber counts, and it all fits with ticking the channel over. You know, my best analogy to this is the channel is performing and the live shows are performing at the same sort of level as when I've had to take sort of bits of breaks because of the old, you know, the old noggin stuff, and I've been ticking things over. Yeah, so and so I've been doing this for 5 years now. I've been doing it for long enough. Oh, yeah. I've been doing this for long enough now that, you know, I can recognise these, and I can recognise that the channel has dipped a little, yeah, from what it normally is, but I know exactly why it's dipped. And it's a good reason, you know, I'm doing the book for pretty much all of you guys anyway. You know, and the way I don't worry about it too much is the way I reason is that I reckon the vast majority of my backers on the Kickstarter are my more regular viewers. Do you know what I mean? So I think, you know, and even if they're not, my more regular viewers are the ones that, all right, you know, I know Mel's coming back. I know what's going on. I know this book is big for him. Yeah, and even if I'm not backing the book because, one, I decide I'm never paying for anything because it's all free on YouTube, or two, I know Mel's going to be doing videos back, you know, next month once the book's finished. Yeah, and so, what do you call it? Or they haven't got the money. But do you know what I mean? I know that it's going to be absolutely fine. So, yeah, the numbers are lesser. I know why it is. I'm used to it, and I know it will bounce back. And to be truthful, I think it'll bounce back more because the book will be another marketing source. What I've learned doing the book, and not just that, what I've learned about drive, getting things done, making things happen, and all that sort of stuff, yeah, that's going to carry over. I mean, the fact I've been able to keep the channel ticking over at where it is whilst doing the book has quite surprised me. Yeah, so once I've got that load off my shoulders, and it's a significant load, yeah, things are going to get good. Real good. You know what I mean? Plus, I've also got, you know, I finally get the cash from the book, which means I've got the budget for those 4K cameras and upping things and that sort of stuff. So the quality of the videos are going to get better, the audio is going to get better. So, no, I'm not worried. No, I'm not worried at all. Going to get my book at the 2020 at the con. No worries, mate. Tabletop saying, yeah, I started watching in the summer, maybe less viewers, was depending on the vacations. That could be a factor as well. I've discovered over a lot of time that during the summer, stats go down a little, especially during things like the World Cup and stuff like that, and big sporting events and the holiday seasons. I mean, I can see dips in the viewership from certain countries on certain holidays and stuff like that, and I can see increases. You know, wet weather tends to increase my view count, but it is global. Yeah. Will the book only be available through Kickstarter? No, you'll be able to. I think Warlord are going to stock it. The Ironforge Games are going to stock it, and I imagine quite a few other people are going to stock it. So you should be able to get it. It will be available in normal distribution. So yeah, I think we've nailed that question. Ravenwolf Games, Taran. Is there a reliable way you can thin down acrylic course for use in scenery covering? A reliable way. Yeah. Yeah, it's tight. Oh. There you go. So yeah, a reliable way is a bit iffy because corking is designed to have that thick consistency. Yeah, so when they made it, they didn't really think about how people are going to thin this down, but it can be thinned down. What you want to, water isn't best for this. I found the best for acrylic corking, yeah, is a 50-50 mix of paint and PVA. as a thinning solution, and you don't need much. Weirdly, if you use just paint, it sort of corks out and makes the top surface a bit too brittle. If you use purely PVA, it stays a little bit squidgy too long. Okay, so if you use 50-50 of each, mixed it as a thinning agent for your corking, that works. And we worked all that sort of stuff out when we were doing the Terrain Lab corking tests. So yeah, you can thin it down, 50-50 mix of paint and PVA, added to your acrylic cork in small amounts, really mixed really well. Okay? JP's asking, evidently castles were plastered and whitewashed. Yeah, they were. Why do we continue to make them grey and stony on the tabletop? Because that's what we're visually, that's how we see castles, because that's how they're depicted in Hollywood, that's how we see them in landscapes, that's how we see them in drawings. Yeah? I mean, there were some castles that did have natural brickwork, but those were actually really posh castles, such as Carnarvon. Yeah, Carnarvon Castle up in North Wales. It's one of my favourite ones. Yeah, but Carnarvon Castle has brickwork, coloured brickwork. Yeah, and it's decorated through its brickwork of layers of coloured bands around the castle. Yeah, and the colours relate to Wales, the Welsh flag. Yeah, and so Carnarvon Castle, which was a royal castle, got shown off, and we're not doing whitewashing. We're going like full bore and using coloured bricks. So we're getting this brick from here, or all the way up not the local quarry where normal we're going to pull it from like 100 miles away from a quarry that gets red bricks, and then we're going to get white bricks from a quarry down in Cornwall and bring them to Wales, rather than heading. I mean, Carnarvon Castle sits at the foot of the Welsh hills, the Welsh Snowdonian mountain range, so there's plenty of local rock they could have used. Yeah, so how do we change the narrative? I don't know if we can. I don't know if we can without it feeling weird. I think we are pre-programmed, to see castles as stone and grey. Romans plastered brickwork and sometimes painted brick lines onto the plaster. Go figure. Wouldn't castles be dependent on location as to what material was used? Yes, generally, you would want a local quarry. Yeah, because castles take a lot of stone, and you want to get stone from the stonemasons and, make that as quickly as possible. But, I mean, you've got to remember, castles existed in a time of, weren't just a defensive structure. For a lot of lords and a lot of kings and that sort of stuff, they were also a status symbol. Yeah, to show authority and also show I'm better than that lord, or the King of England was the better than I mean, isn't the Tower? I think the Tower of London, was specifically built. I think it was called the White Tower, because it was designed to embarrass the French king, because in its splendour, to humble him. Okay, so in a time of like power, statuses, and commerce, it wasn't unknown for someone to pay big buck to get stones, dragged halfway across the country for his castle to show off a bit. You know what I mean? And there's stories all the way through and there's ruins, all the way around Britain of castles that only got half built because the family who was building them went bankrupt halfway through. Do you know what I mean? And never finished them, and no one took the project on because I mean, castles. Once cannons were made, castles were useless at defence. Okay, so everyone went for the sort of stately home thing anyway. Yeah, and so any half-finished castles, everyone was going, well, why build a castle? I might as well build a stately home. Malcop. Yeah, Malcop. Malcop never got finished. But yeah, I don't think we can change the narrative on this, guys, to be truthful. I really don't. Looks like we're having a long show because we're 10:30 and I've still got questions. Okay, Millie, new to sculpting, I have one question. Good, that's handy because we're running over. If a figure is too big for an oven or polymer clay is like less than 5mm thick, would I be able to dry it all out with a heat gun? I wouldn't use a heat gun to dry it out. I mean, the main reason is when you're working with clay, what you don't want to do, or any sorts of clays, or anything which dries through heating and water evaporation, all that sort of stuff, you want an even heat. Okay? Have you thought about making a bigger oven? Big tin can, shine a light in the top of it. Yeah, that's a baking oven. We use them. They use for the smaller models a bean can. Yeah, cut with a hole in the front, so you can put your model in. Lid open. Shine a torch light, a lamp. One of those lamps. I can't get it on screen because we'll blind each other. You know what I mean? And shine it in because that'll increase the heat. So just find or a bit of cardboard. Load of tin foil around the side, little hole so you can put your figure in and out, and then shine a couple of lamps in top, generate a bit of heat, do it that way. But hitting it with a heat gun will cause uneven drying, and it will mean some areas dry quicker and shrink quicker, than others, which it'll cause cracking between because areas are drying. What you want is an even heat, so the whole thing dries and shrinks together. Everyone's talking castles and I've got to get through questions. Yeah, so Millie, no heat gun. Use a baking oven. Yeah, but most importantly, avoid a heat gun. Avoid uneven drying. The Rockfield, what is your favourite glue to use when dealing with foam? PVA. Although, I do like a cheeky bit of hot glue. Yeah, a couple of little spots to hold the big things together. But when I'm working with foam, PVA every time. It's the best glue to go for. I mean, you can get Gorilla Glues. You can get all sorts of foam-safe glues. But at the end of the day, for what we're building, we only need to stick a couple of bits of foam together. Yeah, and it doesn't take much strength. And PVA can easily do the job. Yeah, because when it comes to breaking, the foam will break before the PVA bond breaks. So it doesn't matter what you glue it with, that's stronger than PVA. Yeah? And I like PVA because it's just so versatile. Right, moving on. Spencer's asking, can carpet underlay foam be used for building terrain? If you talk about the hard boards, I've seen them used for basing. Yeah, and they can. You just got to make sure you toughen up the edges because they can be quite fibrous in layers, and they can be quite. If you chip them, you can break them quite easily. Yeah, so the edges need a filler coat of some sort to toughen them up. Soft foam. There are some foam underfloor insulation sheets as well that are extruded. XPS foam, and that can be used for building terrain, much like any XPS. It's often used for building buildings and that sort of stuff. Yeah, I can't see how you'd use the sort of like the black spongy foam that they used to use under carpets. The cushioning one. I don't even know if they use that anymore. Right, moving. JP's back. I had white glue PVA separate on me. I've never seen that before. Yeah, happens all the time. Turned up the bottle and got liquid in it instead of glue. Had to shake it. Never seen it before. Any ideas? You shook it. Job done. Throw an agitator in. You've got to remember, any liquid that is made up of different components, those components will have a different, different densities. Yeah, different weights because of their density, and then depending on if they're left sitting long enough, they will separate. I mean, you got to remember, milk separates. How many times you've gone to the fridge to see the calcium side of the milk and the I don't know, but you know, the fatty side and the bitty side go down, and then you've got the yellowy liquid at the top where it's separated. Yeah, so that's quite normal. Just give it a shake, mate. It just needs remixing. Ah, that's actually... Okay, Otis come back with, I've used outdoor green carpet as grass on top of plyboard. So I'm trying to figure out a way to make ponds or lakes that can sit on top of the outdoor carpet. Trying to find a base to use to set it out so I can remove it later on. Mate, I would cut a piece out, yeah, and then I would have a pond that you can slide in there. Yeah, build a separate piece and make it modular and swap it in and out. Yeah. Because with your swapping in and out idea, on top of carpet laid on top of plyboard, yeah, that's not going to work out well, mate. Not at all. Bloody hell, we did those questions quick. That's all of them. Otis submitted a couple. I've seen milk go the other way when it could be spread. We've all seen that, mate. It's normally when it's the last of the milk and you need a brew. Oh, I've got tons of stuff to get back to, what Cat, and yes, I know. I've got a full book for loads of projects, but I've got 5,500 backers that had my back, so thanks, JP. Yeah, I had 5,500 backers that had my back, so I've got to have their back, and I've got to get this done. Which means, yeah, a little bit of a break, and then I'm jumping into colour intensity, CYM, colour wheels, colour warmth, and then we're going on to tinting colours for natural looks. And then hopefully, yeah, thank you, JP, yeah. And then hopefully, hey presto, we are colour section done. Worker is worthy of his wages. Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Oh, I'm stretching out there. Need to get close a few docks ago. If you want to avoid frosting the clear bits, then avoid super glue or polystyrene cement. Top modelers use PVA. Yeah, no fumes. It's just really weird. We've got about 5 different conversations going on in the chat. All about castle roofs, herringbones, PVA, and colour wheels. Right. Let's stretch. Okay, I think we are at the half hour. We are past the half hour. So I think I'm going to call it, folks. Listen, I've had a really... First, thank you for letting me get my rant off my chest. Yeah, secondly, thanks for some awesome questions tonight. It's been a really good chat. Okay, and moving forward, we've got plenty to get stuck back into. So, let's get stuck back into it, eh? Right. In the meantime, I'll see you all soon, yeah? All the best, yeah? Ta-da.